to day 3 of our 30-day fit and health challenge. Today we're going to be doing a core series. So we're going to do 2 series of 3 exercises each, and we're going to be breaking down the core into 6 movements so we can get a complete training of the core. So like we talked about in our first tutorial, the core is very complex. If we think about it as a box, there's lots of different components to it. So the movements we're going to be looking at today are going to be flexion, so that bending motion, anti-flexion, rotation, anti-rotation, and then lateral flexion and lateral anti-flexion. Okay, so once again, I'm going to go over all our exercises, give you guys some regressions and progressions, and then you can follow along as we complete 2 sets of each of our circuits. Alright guys, so our first exercise is going to be toe taps. So our first 3 exercises we're going to be looking at flexion, rotation, and lateral flexion. This guy here is for flexion. So we're going to put our feet up, we're going to have our hands overhead, and we're going to engage our core first, reach up to the toes, and come back down. You want to keep your low back nice and tight to the ground the whole time. Now if having the reach overhead is causing you too much trouble and your back is peeling off the ground here, what we're going to do instead is just keep the hands over the shoulders and then reach in this position. So that helps us keep our ribs down the whole time. Now if that's still a little bit too hard, make that one step easier. We can put the feet on a bench so that we have less pressure here or exertion coming from the hip flexors. And then here we would do the same thing with the upper body. We're going to dig that low back into the ground, squeeze the TA in the front, and then peel our shoulders off the ground, and we're just reaching up as high as we can to the ceiling. And then one more regression we could do, if we're still not super comfortable with that, is the McGill curl up, but this time with both our knees bent. Okay, so it's not a crunch because I really don't want you to exert through your neck, but we're going to put our palms up towards the ceiling, engage through our TA, and push our low back into the ground to start. And here you want to think about peeling your shoulders off the ground, but lifting with your chest. So we're not going through the shoulders here, rotating them forwards. We're just peeling them off the ground, lifting through the chest and pushing the palms up to the ceiling and coming back down. Okay, so those are our regressions. Our progression to our toe tap is going to be to open everything up in between our reps. So we're going to open up the legs and the arms, and then we're going to pull back every time. All right, so that is our first one. Our second exercise is going to be for rotation. So we're going to do a Russian twist. So here I'm going to have my feet flat on the ground, and I'm just going to bend back about 45 degrees here, and with my hands together, I'm going to rotate from one side to the other. To make this exercise a little easier, I can just come higher. The higher we go, the more control we're going to feel. The lower we go, the more we're engaging through the core. Okay, so we can just do it from a higher top position. And then another regression we can do, so let's say this position just isn't very comfortable, you're feeling some tension in the low back or whatnot. We're going to sit, okay, with our knees at 45 degrees. And the key here is to engage our core while we're here. So if we're just sitting in a slumped position, we're not going to get any benefit from the exercise. But if we can stand really tall, squeeze the glutes, pull the ribs down here, then we can do a rotation, keeping the core nice and tight and only going as far as we can with the control of the body and the core. Okay. And one thing you can do to make the Russian twist harder is to either hold a dumbbell in your hand, or even harder is to pop the feet up off the ground. So if we can keep our heels up as we do our Russian twist, we're going to increase the difficulty. All right, so our third exercise is going to be lateral flexion, and we're going to do that from a standing bend position. Okay? So what I want you to do is grab anything with a handle around the house. If you have a dumbbell, you can grab a dumbbell. If you guys have laundry detergent with a handle or any kind of bucket or a big water jug, you can use that, fill it up as much as you want, and that's going to control how much weight you have. And what we're going to do here is in this standing position, you're going to slide that arm with the dumbbell down your side. We're going to engage through our obliques and pull that back up. Okay, so as we go down, in control, squeeze through the side body back up. We don't want to let the hips pop out at all. So I don't want to see this kind of motion. I wanted the hips to stay as square as possible, and it's only our upper body going down before we come to that starting position. So a couple things we could do to make this a little bit easier is to just drop the weight. So we can do the movement with no weight, and then we're still engaging and squeezing that side body. After we do a few reps, you're going to feel this exercise if you don't have a dumbbell in your hand. So a trick I want you guys to think about here, if you guys aren't sure if your hips are moving in and out, is to have one hand on the wall. Your other hand can either have a dumbbell or it could have nothing. And as you bend away from the wall, you're just going to slide your hand, but you're not going to let your hips come and touch. So if our hips touch, then we know that we've shifted. But if it's just the back of our hand the whole time, we know we've been able to keep our hips square over the feet. Alright guys, so we're going to start our second series of 3 exercises. So these next 3 exercises are going to look at anti-flexion, anti-rotation, and lateral anti-flexion. So we're trying to hold a position and stop our body from going into a flexion position or rotating, okay? So the first one, we've done this one before, and you're going to see that I really like this exercise. We're going to do our hollow hold. Okay, so we did this one yesterday in our full body workout. I'm going to go over the 3 progressions once again. So our first easiest position is going to be to engage the core here, reach those hands towards the heels. We either leave the head on the ground or we're peeling the shoulders off, keeping a neutral neck. Position number 2, a little bit harder, we open up the arms. And then position number 3, we open up the legs here. At all times, keeping the low back nice and tight to the ground. Okay? So in that position, we're trying to keep our body still and avoid movement. Okay? Alright guys, so our second exercise is going to be a half kneeling anti-rotation exercise. So my knee that is closest to the wall is going to be down. I'm going to tuck those toes in behind so that I'm pushing the bottom of my feet into the ground. And from here, I'm going to reach my arms out in front. I'm going to make sure that my shoulders are stacked over my hips. I'm engaging my core, flattening my back. And I'm going to rotate until my hands hit the wall. And then I'm going to apply pressure. Okay, so you're trying to rotate, but the wall is stopping you from doing that rotation. And that's how it becomes an anti-rotation exercise. And we're just going to hold this guy here for 20 seconds. Okay, the harder you push, the harder it becomes. Now if you guys had bands, so resistance bands or TheraBands, you could attach those to a railing or in your door frame. And then in the same position here, so imagine I would have my bands attached to my door. I would hold them here and pull against the bands, and then that would be pulling me, and I would have to push away to control my body from that rotation. Alright guys, our last exercise for lateral anti-flexion is going to be our side plank. So our starting position for a side plank is going to be feet stacked one on top of the other, elbow stacked directly under the shoulder. I either want your hand on your hip or your hand opened up to the ceiling, because that's going to keep us from crunching forwards and rounding through the shoulders. Okay, so from here we're going to push on the outside edge of the feet. We're going to push away on that elbow. Try to avoid getting into a crunch position with this shoulder. You want to think of extending through that shoulder and that neck. Get your ears away from your shoulders. Okay, so this is our starting position. If that's a little bit too much, we can bend the bottom leg of our side plank. Keep the top one straight. From here, we're pushing on the inside edge of the top foot and the outside edge of the knee. Or if we're more comfortable, again here, both knees bent and just pushing on the outside edges of the knee. Okay, and then if none of those side plank rotations work for you, if it's either pressure through the elbow that doesn't work, pain in the shoulder that doesn't work, or it's something to do with the legs and the pressure in the knees, what I'm going to get you to do instead is just a farmer carry hold. So what we were doing before, you will need some kind of weight for this one. Doesn't have to be super heavy, but what we were doing before with our side bends, okay, we were creating flexion, and now this time with your weighted object, whatever that is, I want your other arm out to the side, and you're just gonna pop that weight off of your body. So I want this muscle engaged, I want everything nice and tight, shoulders away from the ears, and we're gonna pull the ribs down here, engaging the core, and you're just gonna hold it. So that weight wants to pull you down, and you're gonna work against it to stay nice and tall, and you're just gonna hold 20 seconds per side. All right guys, we're ready to start series number 1. So we're gonna do 2 sets. We've got 10 toe taps to do, 10 Russian twists per side, and then 10 side leans per side. All right, we'll get started here with our toe taps. We've got 10 reps, feet up in the air, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Perfect. Our Russian twists, 10 per side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Perfect. You're gonna grab your weight. We're gonna go up against the wall, and we've got our 10 side leans. The heavier you go, the harder it's gonna be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Think about having a plane of glass in front and behind your body. 7. So there's no twisting happening here. 8, 9, and 10. Perfect. On the other side here, same idea, keeping those hips stacked over the feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna go for round number 2. Feel free to put me on pause, take a 2-minute break. When you're ready, come back to it. We've got the exact same thing here, second round. So we've got our 10 toe taps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Perfect. We'll bring it back down. Got our Russian twist, 10 per side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Think about twisting with your shoulders. 9 and 10. Excellent. Back on our feet. Grab that dumbbell. We have 10 leans per side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Other side. 1, 2. Really feel your obliques here squeezing as you pull yourself back up. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Awesome. So that was our first series. Again, grab a 2-minute break, then we'll come back, do series number 2. We've got 2 rounds of that one. Alright guys, so series number 2, we've got our hollow hold for 20 seconds, our half kneeling anti-rotation 20 seconds aside, and our our side plank 20 seconds aside. So lots of holding in this one. Right? We'll get started with our hollow hold. Okay, and everybody gets set, whichever variation is good for you. We're gonna go in 3, 2, 1, go. 20 seconds. Push that low back into the ground, pull those ribs in towards your hips. Keep everything nice and tight. Reach those arms. Squeeze the glutes. That's 15 seconds. We've got 5 more to go. And time. Perfect. Get set up here by the wall. If you want to put a cushion or something under your knee, help with the comfort. And here we've got 20 seconds. Going in 3, 2, 1, and push through those hands. Make sure that we're not twisting the hips here as we push through the arms. Keeping those hips facing forward. The harder you push, harder it's going to be. And time. Flip yourselves over. We're going to switch knees here as well, so the inside knees on the ground. Okay, going in 3, 2, 1, and push. Perfect. That is time. And our last exercise, we're going to get into our side plank. Whichever variation was good for you. 20-second hold. 3, 2, 1, and we're up. That's 15 seconds. We've got 5 more to go. Make sure those hips stay nice and high. And time. Perfect. Flip yourself around here. We're going to go on the other side. 3, 2, 1, and go. Again, try to open up that shoulder. We don't want to get any twisting here. Push your hips forward and your shoulder back. It's 15 seconds. Driving away from your elbow so we have space in the neck. And time. Good job, guys. That was a first round. Click pause, take a 2-minute break, and then we'll come back for round 2. All right, guys, we're ready to go here for round number 2. We're going to start with our hollow hold. 20 seconds. Ready, and go. Perfect. Now we're going to get close to the wall. Got our half kneeling rotation. Going in 3, 2, 1, and go. Think about But keeping the hips square, the shoulders away from the ears, push the back of that hand into the wall. And time. Perfect. We'll switch to the other side. The more you can imagine your shoulders moving, the more you're going to get out of the exercise. So 3, 2, 1, and go. Three, 2, 1, and time. Awesome, almost there, guys. We've got our side plank lift, 20 seconds per side. So get set here. We're gonna go in 3, 2, 1, and go. Pushing away from the ground. I want some space between my ears and my neck here. I want to push that top shoulder back behind. And always thinking about driving my hips up away from the floor. And time. Flip it over. Other side in 3, 2, 1, and we're up. Same thing here, pushing away from the floor, keeping that shoulder back. Good job, guys. In 3, 2, 1, time. Awesome. So if you guys want to do more of that, feel free to do some extra sets. That's our core series for today. So we learned our 6 movements of the core. And join us tomorrow for day 4.